The Mountain House. A Christmas revenge story. After years of being deliberately excluded and forgotten by his family for Christmas, a 28-year-old man, Ethan, who has built a successful career and purchased a dream mountain cabin, turns the tables when his family suddenly expects him to host their entire Christmas celebration at his new, luxurious property. The silence in my apartment wasn't empty. It was heavy, textured like a velvet curtain I had pulled shut against the world. For most people, December 25th is a cacophony. Tearing paper, screaming children, the clatter of silverware, and the forced cheer of relatives you tolerate only because biology demands it. For me, for the last 5 years, it has been the hum of a high-end HVAC system, the pour of 20-year-old scotch into heavy crystal, and the distinct cold comfort of being entirely unneeded. I sat in the leather wingback chair of my penthouse living room, staring out at the city skyline. It was snowing, fat flakes drifting past the floor-to-ceiling glass, muting the gray steel of the skyscrapers. I didn't feel lonely. Loneliness implies a desire for presence, a hunger for something missing. I wasn't hungry anymore. I was full, gorged on 5 years of rejection until my stomach had hardened into iron. It hadn't always been this way. The indifference was a callus I had spent half a decade growing. I swirled the amber liquid in my glass, watching the legs drip down the side, and let my mind drift back to the beginning. The timeline of my erasure was precise. It started subtly, the way a hairline fracture appears in a dam before the water breaks through. It began with Jake. Jake. The name alone tasted like vinegar. My brother, 3 years younger, the kaleidoscope through which my parents viewed the entire universe. Jake, who dropped out of college twice because the professors were stifling his creativity. Jake, who totaled 3 cars in 4 years, each accident met with weeping hugs from my mother and a checkbook from my father, while I was lectured on fiscal responsibility when I asked for help buying a suit for my first real job interview. I was the steady one, the reliable one, the boring one. And in the narrative of the Anderson family, the boring ones were furniture, useful, present, but ultimately invisible until you stubbed your toe on them. The first year of the forgetting happened when I was 23. I was working 80-hour weeks as a junior analyst, drowning in spreadsheets and anxiety, living on caffeine and the desperate hope of a promotion. I had assumed, foolishly, that Christmas was a default setting. You don't invite your arm to be part of your body. It just is. I called my mother on December 23rd. "Hey, Mom," I had said, cradling the phone between my shoulder and ear while typing an email. "I'm wrapping up some reports, but I should be able to drive down by noon on Christmas Eve. Do you need me to pick up anything? Wine? That cranberry stuff Dad likes?" The silence on the other end lasted 3 seconds too long. It was a vacuum of sound that sucked the air out of my small rented room. "Oh," she said. Her voice wasn't apologetic. It was confused. "Oh, Ethan, honey." "What?" I stopped typing. We assumed you were working. You're always working, aren't you? You didn't mention coming down earlier this month." "It's Christmas, Mom. I always come down." "Well," she sighed, a sharp intake of breath that signaled she was shifting the blame onto me. "Jake was having such a hard time with that breakup. You know, with the girl with the tattoos. He needed a change of scenery. Your father and I decided to take him to Vermont. Just a quiet little cabin getaway. Very small. No room, really." "You're in Vermont?" "We're leaving in an hour." "And you didn't think to tell me?" "Ethan, don't use that tone. We truly thought you were busy with your numbers. Besides, it's all booked up. You understand, don't you? Jake really needs us right now." I understood. I understood that Jake I's newest emotional scrape required the full triage unit of our parents' attention, while I was left to cauterize my own wounds. That year, I ate Thai takeout alone and watched a marathon of old James Bond movies. It hurt, a sharp, physical ache in my chest that felt like betrayal. By the 3rd year, the ache had dulled into a throbbing bruise. That was the year of the Cabo incident. I vividly remember the phone call because I had prepared for it. I had decided not to assume. I had decided to ask, weeks in advance. It was early December. I was 26 then, starting to make real money, wearing suits that actually fit, driving a car that didn't rattle. I felt I had earned a seat at the table. "Hey, Mom," I said. I was standing in the kitchen of my upgraded apartment, watching the coffee drip. "I wanted to coordinate for the holidays. I have some vacation time approved. I was thinking of bringing some really nice steaks this year. Wagyu." "Wagyu," she repeated. The word sounded foreign in her mouth. "That's extravagant." "I'm doing well, Mom. I want to treat you guys." There was a rustling sound on the line, then a muffled voice. I heard my father in the background, asking who was on the phone. "Ethan," she whispered to him. "It's Ethan." "Here's the thing, honey," she said, coming back to the line, her voice pitchy and bright, her lying voice. "We're actually doing something a little different this year. A new year, new us sort of thing." "Okay," I said, feeling the floor tilt slightly. "Different how?" "We're going to Cabo." She practically squealed it. "Your father found a Groupon, can you believe it? And Jake managed to get the time off work. Well, he's between jobs again, but he's really focusing on his photography now. And the light down there is supposed to be spiritual." I gripped the marble countertop so hard my knuckles turned white. "Cabo. Sounds great. When do I book my ticket?" "Ah." The pause returned, the familiar suffocating pause. "The package? It was a family deal, for 3. It was strictly limited, Ethan. We already booked the tickets. Non-refundable. For 3, I repeated. My voice was flat, monotone. "We just assumed you'd be busy," she said quickly, the defense mechanism snapping into place. "You're always talking about your career, your promotions. We didn't want to drag you away from your success. You know how bored you get with us." "I never said I was bored." "Well, you act bored. You're always on your phone. Checking work emails so I can pay my rent." "See? Work, work, work," she said triumphantly. "We're doing you a favor, really. You can relax, rest, get ahead on whatever it is you do." "So Jake is going. Dad is going. You're going." "Yes, it's going to be so healing for Jake. He's been so stressed." "Right," I said. "Stressed. Don't be jealous, Ethan. It's unbecoming. We'll bring you back a souvenir. Maybe a sombrero." She laughed. She actually laughed. I hung up. I didn't say goodbye. I just pressed the red button and stared at the black screen of my phone. That was the moment the sadness began to curdle. It stopped being about missing them and started being about seeing them, truly seeing them, for the first time. They didn't forget me because they were absent-minded. They forgot me because I was inconvenient. I was the mirror that reflected their spoiling of Jake, the reminder of the responsibilities they enabled him to shirk. I didn't cry that year. I worked. I went into the office on Christmas Day. The security guard, a burly man named Marcus, was the only other soul in the building. We shared a thermos of coffee and watched the snow fall on the empty streets. I billed 12 hours of triple-time consulting fees to a client in Hong Kong. By the time the 5th year rolled around, this past Christmas, the dynamic had solidified into concrete. I expected nothing. I received nothing. There was no phone call in December. No, "What are your plans?" No awkward excuses about limited tickets or small cabins. They had simply stopped pretending that I was part of the equation. I saw the photos on social media, of course. My mother, father, and Jake wearing matching flannel pajamas in a rented Airbnb in Aspen. Jake was holding a glass of champagne, his arm draped around my father's shoulder, grinning that lopsided, charming grin that had gotten him out of parking tickets and paternity suits alike. The caption read, "Family is everything. Blessed Aspen Christmas." I looked at the photo on my phone, zooming in on their faces. They looked happy, relieved even. The tension of having the successful, judgmental son around was gone. They could enable each other in peace. I remember setting the phone down on my desk, mahogany, custom-made, and feeling a strange sensation wash over me. It wasn't anger, it wasn't sorrow, it was liberation. If they didn't need me, then I certainly didn't need them. I had spent my 20s clawing my way up the corporate lattice, fueled by a desperate need to prove I was worthy of attention. "Look at me," my bank account screamed. "Look at me," my title shouted. But they were deaf to anything that didn't sound like Jake's needy whimpering, so I redirected the fuel. I stopped working for their approval and started working for my own empire. I became ruthless in negotiations, cold in execution. My portfolio grew. My assets multiplied. I stopped being Ethan the son and became Ethan the entity. I stood up from the wingback chair and walked to the window of my apartment. The glass was cold against my forehead. The reflection staring back was older than 28. The eyes were harder, the jaw set in a permanent line of resolve. "Family is everything," I whispered to the empty room, mocking the caption I had seen. No, control is everything. Stability is everything. They had given me a gift, really. By casting me out, they had severed the strings. I was no longer tethered to their chaotic orbit. I was a rogue planet, dense and heavy and gaining momentum. I took a sip of the scotch, the burn pleasant and grounding. I had money. I had time. And for the first time in my life, I had a vision that didn't include a seat at a table where I wasn't wanted. I turned away from the window, turning my back on the snowy city and the memories of the family that had ghosted me. I walked over to my desk, where a set of architectural blueprints lay unrolled, pinned down by heavy brass weights. I ran my hand over the paper, tracing the lines of elevation, the pitch of the roof, the expansive deck that would overlook a valley far deeper and more silent than this city. They wanted Aspen? Fine. They could rent their little condos and pretend to be high society. I was going to build a fortress. I looked at the header on the blueprints. Project Serenity. This wasn't just a house. It was a declaration of independence. It was where I would spend my future Christmases, not waiting by the phone, not eating takeout, but standing on my own land, breathing my own air. Let Jake have the golden child status. Let him have the matching pajamas and the coddling. I was done competing for scraps. I picked up a pen and made a small note in the margin of the master suite diagrams. Add fireplace here, stone, floor to ceiling. The ghost of Christmases past was dead. I had buried him under a pile of money and indifference. "Merry Christmas to me," I said into the silence. And for the first time in 5 years, I actually meant it. The air at 9,000 feet didn't just feel different, it tasted different. It was thin, metallic, and sharp enough to scour the inside of your lungs, leaving behind a sterile clarity that the smog-choked city down below could never replicate. I inhaled deeply, letting the cold bite into my chest, before exhaling a plume of white steam that vanished instantly into the twilight. The engine of my Range Rover ticked as it cooled, the only sound breaking the profound silence of the Rockies. I stood at the base of the driveway looking up. It was finished. The structure rose from the granite mountainside like it had grown there, a monolithic blend of rough-hewn timber, native stone, and expansive sheets of glass that reflected the darkening sky. I hadn't just bought a house, I had commissioned a fortress. I called it the Eyrie. It was high up, untouchable, and predatory in its grandeur. For the last 8 months, this project had been my obsession, my mistress, and my therapy. While my colleagues in the city were spending their bonuses on depreciating sports cars or fleeting vacations to Tulum, I was pouring concrete and laying slate. I walked up the heated driveway, no shoveling snow for me ever again, and punched the code into the biometric lock. The mechanism slid back with a heavy, expensive thunk, a sound that signaled security. Inside, the scent of cedar and treated leather hit me. It was the smell of new money, certainly, but more than that, it was the smell of autonomy. I tossed my keys onto the quartzite island in the kitchen. The space was cavernous, illuminated by the soft, amber glow of under-cabinet lighting that triggered automatically upon my entry. I ran a hand over the countertop. It was cool and smooth, a single slab of stone imported from Italy that had cost more than my father's car. "Mr. Vance?" The voice startled me. I turned to see Miller, my general contractor, emerging from the great room with a clipboard in hand. He looked tired, dust clinging to his Carhartt jacket, but he offered a weary smile. "Miller," I said, loosening my tie, "I thought you'd be gone by now. It's past 6. "Just doing the final walkthrough on the fireplace flue," Miller said, tapping his pen against the clipboard. Wanted to make sure the draw was perfect before the storm hits tonight. Forecast says we're getting 6 inches. I walked past him into the living room, the heart of the cabin. The ceiling vaulted 30 feet high, anchored by a massive river rock fireplace that roared with a gas-fed flame. But the real show was the wall of glass facing west. The sun had just dipped below the jagged silhouette of the peaks, painting the snow-covered valley in bruised purples and deep indigos. "It works," I said, staring at the fire. "It's perfect." Miller joined me, looking around with the pride of a craftsman who knows he's delivered. "It's a hell of a place, Ethan. Honestly, in 20 years of building up here, I don't think I've done a master suite with a view like that. The ski and access alone adds $1 million to the appraisal." "I didn't build it for the appraisal," I murmured. "No, I guess not," Miller chuckled. He looked around the vast open concept living area, imagining the potential. "You're going to be the hero of the holidays, that's for sure. This place was built for a crowd. I imagine you've got quite the family gathering planned for the christening?" The air in the room seemed to drop 5 degrees. I turned my back on the view and looked at Miller. He was a good man, honest and hardworking, asking a polite, small-talk question. He had no way of knowing he had just stepped onto a landmine. "No," I said. My voice was level, stripped of any inflection. Miller blinked, confused. "Oh, just a few friends then? A bachelor ski weekend?" "Just me," I corrected him. I walked over to the wet bar and poured myself a finger of Japanese whiskey. Just me, Miller, and the silence. Miller shifted his weight, looking uncomfortable. He scanned the room again, the 12-person dining table carved from a single walnut tree, the sectional sofa large enough to seat a football team, the guest wing with its 4 ensuite bedrooms. "That's a lot of house for one man," he said carefully. "I like the space," I replied, taking a sip. The whiskey burned pleasantly. "I like knowing that if I wanted to fill it, I could, but I choose not to." I handed him his final check, which I'd already written out. It included a substantial bonus. Miller looked at the number, his eyebrows shooting up, and the awkwardness vanished, replaced by gratitude. "I appreciate this, Ethan, truly. If you need anything, plumbing acts up, smart system glitches, you call me, even on Christmas Eve." "Go home to your family, Miller," I said, softer this time. "I won't be calling." When the heavy front door finally clicked shut behind him, the silence rushed back in to fill the vacuum. It was absolute. There was no hum of traffic, no neighbors arguing through thin drywall, and most importantly, no passive-aggressive comments about my career choices or harmless jokes at my expense. I spent the next hour wandering through the rooms like a ghost haunting his own castle. I went into the guest wing. The rooms were pristine, the beds made with high thread count linens that had never been slept in. I walked into the room I had designated as the bunk room, featuring 4 built-in queen-sized bunks, intended for future nieces or nephews I might one day tolerate, or perhaps children of my own, should I ever let anyone close enough to have them. I stood in the doorway, staring at the empty beds. For a second, a phantom image flickered in my mind. Jake, my brother, sprawled out on one of those beds complaining that the mattress was too firm, while my mother reorganized the kitchen I had meticulously designed, telling me I had put the forks in the wrong drawer. I shook my head, physically dispelling the thought. They aren't here. I wasn't the spare part anymore. I wasn't the background character in the Jake show. I was the king of this mountain. I had built a sanctuary so exclusive that the admission price was a lifetime of loyalty, a currency my family had gone bankrupt on years ago. I returned to the great room and sank into the leather armchair facing the window. The snow had started. Fat, heavy flakes drifted down, illuminated by the exterior floodlights, softening the jagged world outside. It was mesmerizing. I pulled my phone out of my pocket. I had a complicated relationship with social media. For years, I had been a lurker, quietly observing the curated lives of others. I watched my cousin's wedding photos, my brother's endless posts about his gifted children, and my parents' travel updates from trips I was never invited to. I rarely posted. Silence was my shield. If they didn't know what I was doing, they couldn't criticize it. But tonight, The whiskey and the altitude were conspiring against my better judgment. I looked at the room around me. The fire was roaring, casting dancing shadows against the timber beams. The snow swirled outside the floor-to-ceiling glass. It looked like a page out of Architectural Digest, but it was real, and it was mine. The pride swelled in my chest, hot and demanding. Why shouldn't I show it? I had worked 80-hour weeks for this. I had eaten takeout at my desk while the rest of the world slept. I had turned my loneliness into a weapon and carved out a kingdom. I opened the camera app. I framed the shot carefully. I didn't want it to look like a brag, even though it absolutely was. I angled the lens to catch the fire in the foreground, the texture of the stone, and the vast, snowy darkness of the mountains through the glass. I adjusted the exposure to capture the warmth of the interior against the cold blue of the night. It was a beautiful photograph. It screamed success, but more than that, it screamed peace. I hesitated with my thumb hovering over the post button. A small voice in the back of my head, the paranoid, wounded child who used to hide in his room during Christmas dinner, whispered a warning. Keep it hidden. If they see it, they will want to ruin it. But the adult in me, the man who had just written a check that could pay off my parents' mortgage, scoffed. Let them see. Let them see what the cold, workaholic son had built. Let them see that I didn't need their approval, their terrifyingly conditional love, or their pity invites. I typed a caption. I kept it short, vague, and undeniably smug. Finally home, the Airy. Sheer mountain life, renovation, sheer sanctuary. I hit share. The progress bar zipped across the screen. Posted. I stared at the image on my feed for a moment, waiting for the regret to set in. But it didn't. Instead, a rush of dopamine hit me as the first few likes rolled in from college friends and work colleagues. Dude, is that yours? Insane, commented a guy from the legal department. Stunning, Ethan. You deserve it, wrote an old ex-girlfriend. I smiled, locked the phone, and set it face down on the side table. I walked to the kitchen to refill my drink. The house was quiet, but it was a different kind of quiet now. It felt witnessed. I had planted a flag. I spent the rest of the evening breaking in the space. I cooked a steak in the professional-grade kitchen, searing the meat on the 6-burner range with a satisfaction that felt primal. I ate at the kitchen island, watching the snow pile up on the deck. I tested the whole home audio system, blasting jazz at a volume that would have garnered a noise complaint in the city, letting the bass vibrate through the heated floorboards. Around midnight, I wandered down to the lower level to check the ski room. It was fully stocked. My gear hung on the custom racks, dried and ready. The back door led directly out to a groomed trail that connected to the main lift system. Tomorrow morning, I would wake up, step into my bindings, and disappear into the trees before the tourists even finished their breakfast. I was living the dream. My dream. As I climbed the floating staircase back to the main level, I felt a profound sense of closure. The renovation was done. The physical manifestation of my independence was complete. I had won. I had survived the years of neglect and come out the other side not just intact, but fortified. I went back to the living room to extinguish the fire. The embers were glowing a deep, pulsing red. I picked up my phone to take it up to the master bedroom. The screen lit up with notifications. Dozens of them. Likes, comments, emojis of fire and applause. The validation was addictive, a digital chorus of applause for a performance I had put on for myself. I scrolled through them idly, a smirk playing on my lips. Then my thumb froze. There, buried between a comment from my accountant and a like from a girl I met at a conference, was a notification that made my stomach drop. The air in the room suddenly felt very thin, the warmth of the fire instantly replaced by a chill that had nothing to do with the snow outside. Jake Vance liked your photo, my brother, the golden child. He hadn't liked a photo of mine in 3 years. We weren't even friends on this platform. His profile was public, but he followed hundreds of people, usually ignoring me completely. He must have seen it through a mutual connection, or perhaps he checked up on me more than I realized. I stared at the notification. It was just a digital heart, a pixelated gesture. It meant nothing. But below it, another notification popped up. This one time stamped just 3 minutes ago. "Mom," Vance commented. "Oh my goodness. Ethan, is this where you've been hiding?" I stared at the words. I could hear her voice in my head, that high-pitched, feigned enthusiasm she used when she wanted something, the tone that usually preceded a guilt trip or a request for money. "Is this where you've been hiding?" As if I were a child playing hide-and-seek, rather than a grown man living a life they had shown zero interest in. I felt a sudden urge to delete the post, to scrub the evidence, to block them all and retreat behind the digital walls just as I had behind these physical ones, but I didn't. My finger hovered over the delete button, trembling slightly. "No," I thought, a cold resolve hardening in my gut. "I am not hiding, not anymore." I turned off the screen, leaving the comment unanswered. Let them look. Let them stare at the glass and the stone and the fire. Let them see the life that exists without them. They were hundreds of miles away, stuck in their suburban routine, bound by their own dysfunction. They couldn't touch me here. This was my mountain, my cabin, my clouds. I walked up the stairs to the master suite, the phone feeling heavy as a brick in my hand. I told myself it didn't matter. I told myself a comment was just text on a screen. But as I lay in the massive bed, staring up at the vaulted ceiling and listening to the wind howl against the triple-paned glass, I couldn't shake the feeling that I had just lit a signal flare in the middle of wolf country. I closed my eyes, willing sleep to come, trying to focus on the silence. But the silence wasn't empty anymore. It was waiting. The silence of the mountains was heavy, a physical weight that pressed against the glass walls of the living room. But it was a weight I welcomed. It was nothing like the stifling, awkward silences of the family dinners I used to attend years ago. This silence was clean. It smelled of pine resin, cold air, and the dark roast coffee steaming in the mug cupped between my hands. I stood by the floor-to-ceiling windows, looking out at the expanse of white that belonged to me. The deed in the safe downstairs said I owned 5 acres, but up here, at 6,000 feet with nothing but national forest bordering the ridge, it felt like I owned the world. The renovation dust had finally settled 2 weeks ago. The contractors were gone, the staging furniture had been replaced with leather armchairs I'd picked out myself, and the massive stone fireplace was currently roaring with birch logs I'd stacked with my own hands. It was December 3rd. For the first time in my life, the date didn't trigger that familiar hollow ache in my chest. Usually, this was the week the anxiety would set in, the waiting game. Would they call? Would I get the pity invite on the 23rd? The one that made it clear I was an afterthought? Or would it be the forgotten year, where I'd find out via Instagram that the family had gone to Vermont or Aspen without me? This year, I didn't care. I took a sip of coffee, letting the bitterness sit on my tongue. I had my sanctuary. I had the ski-in access just off the back deck. I had a bottle of 20-year-old scotch for Christmas Eve and a prime rib roast ordered from the local butcher. I was complete. Then, the phone rang. The sound was jarring, a digital intrusiveness that shattered the carefully curated peace of the cabin. I frowned, setting my mug down on the raw-edge walnut side table. I'd left the phone on the kitchen island, screen facing down. I walked over, my socks sliding silently on the heated slate floors. I flipped the phone over. Mom. My stomach did that involuntary flip, a conditioned reflex from 28 years of hoping for approval and bracing for disappointment. I stared at the screen. We hadn't spoken since August, a 3-minute conversation where she asked for help with her iPad, and then hung up when Jake walked into the room on her end. I considered letting it go to voicemail. I could claim bad reception. It was a plausible lie up here. But curiosity, that distinct masochistic curiosity of the black sheep, won out. I swiped green. Hello? Ethan. Oh, thank goodness I caught you. I tried calling the number for your old apartment first, but it was disconnected. You really should tell us when you move, sweetheart. It's frightening for a mother not to know where her son is. Her voice was breathless, high-pitched, and layered with a sweetness that set my teeth on edge. It was her asking for something voice. I moved 6 months ago, Mom, I said, keeping my tone flat. I sent an email with the new contact info. You replied to it. Did I? Well, you know how technology is with me. She brushed past the lie effortlessly. She didn't ask how I was. She didn't ask about my job. She didn't apologize for the silence. Anyway, that's not why I'm calling. Ethan, I just saw the photos. I leaned my hip against the quartz countertop, confused. What photos? Facebook, the ones you posted yesterday. I didn't even know you were still active on there, honestly. I thought you blocked us years ago, which was so hurtful, by the way. But Aunt Carol shared your post and... My God, Ethan. Ah, the renovation reveal. I had posted a small gallery, the sweeping view from the deck, the double-height fireplace, the chef's kitchen, and the master bath with the soaking tub overlooking the valley. I had captioned it simply, Home. It's breathtaking, she gushed. The woodwork and that stone facade. It looks like something out of Architectural Digest. Carol said it's in the Cascades. Is that right? Yeah, I said, a flicker of pride warring with suspicion. It's about 2 hours north of the city. I finished the remodel last week. Incredible. Just incredible. Your father and I were looking at the pictures on the iPad, zooming in on everything. We couldn't believe it. You've really done well for yourself, haven't you? I've been working hard, Mom. Clearly. And to think you've been hiding this away from us. She let out a little laugh, one that sounded more like an accusation than a chuckle. Then came the pivot. I could feel it coming through the phone line like a drop in barometric pressure before a storm. You know, we've been in such a panic lately. I didn't take the bait. I just waited. Christmas, she said, the word landing heavy. We were supposed to go to your Aunt Carol's beach house, but there was a pipe burst. Flooded the whole downstairs. A disaster. Total disaster. And Jake, well, you know how Jake is. He promised the twins a real Christmas this year. Snow, sledding, the whole 9 yards. He's been stressed out of his mind trying to find a rental this late in the season. Everything is booked solid or charging extortionate rates. My grip on the phone tightened. My knuckles turned white. I knew exactly where this was going, yet hearing it out loud felt like a hallucination. So, she continued, her pace quickening, gaining momentum. When I saw your photos, I literally screamed. I told your father, it's a sign. It's perfect, Ethan. Absolutely perfect. Mom, I started, but she bulldozed right over me. I've already mapped it out. It's only a 4-hour drive for us, and Jake and Sarah can drive up from their place in 5. We can all be there by the afternoon of the 23rd. That gives us plenty of time to decorate. Oh, do you have a tree up yet? If not, don't bother. Jake wants to chop one down with the boys. It's a tradition he wants to start. I stood frozen in my kitchen, staring at the 12-foot noble fir I had set up in the corner of the great room just that morning. It was already decorated with minimalist, warm white lights and glass ornaments I'd collected over the last few years of solo travel. Mom, stop, I said. She didn't hear me. She was in full planning mode, rewriting my reality to fit her narrative. Now, looking at the photos, I assume the master suite is the one with the balcony. Dad and I will take that, obviously, since my back can handle stairs too well and it looks like it's on the main floor. Jake and Sarah will need the second largest room. They need space for the crib for the baby. The twins can camp out in the loft. They'll love that adventure. And you... She paused, just for a fraction of a second, the only acknowledgement that she was displacing the owner of the house. Well, I saw a very comfortable-looking leather sectional in the living room. Or maybe you have a guest room you didn't photograph? Regardless, you're young, you can make do. It's just family, right? The audacity was so pure, so unadulterated, that it was almost impressive. For 5 years, I hadn't received a Christmas invite until the last possible second, usually accompanied by a request to bring wine or those expensive chocolates you buy. For 5 years, I had been the ghost at the feast, the one who sat at the end of the table while Jake recounted his mediocre achievements to thunderous applause. And now, because I had something shiny, because I had something they wanted, I was suddenly useful. Not loved. Useful. I'm sending you the grocery list later today, she added, her voice dropping into a confidential register. Sarah is doing that keto thing again, so we need to be careful with carbs. But Jake wants prime rib, a big one. Make sure you get a butcher cut, not the supermarket stuff. You can afford it now, right? You're inviting everyone here, I said slowly, testing the words. for Christmas, without asking me. Asking you? She laughed again, a sharp, brittle sound. Ethan, don't be silly. It's your family. You don't need an invitation to host your own family. Besides, think of how lonely you'd be up there all by yourself. We're doing you a favor, really, bringing the party to you. It's going to be just like the old days, but better because, well, look at this place. Just like the old days. Just like the old days. The memory hit me like a physical blow. 7 years ago, I was 21, struggling through my final year of college, working 2 jobs. I had scraped together enough money to buy everyone gifts. I drove home, excited. When I got there, the house was dark. They had gone to a resort in the Poconos. Jake had convinced them last minute. They left a note and they claimed later. They thought I was working. I spent Christmas eating a gas station sandwich in my car in their driveway. Ethan. Her voice snapped me back to the present. Are you writing this down? I need to know if you have enough linens or if I should bring extra towels. And what is the internet situation? The twins need to stream their shows. I walked out of the kitchen, back into the living room. The fire popped, a spark hitting the screen. Outside, the snow was beginning to fall harder, fat flakes drifting down in the gray light. It was a fortress. My fortress. I looked around the room. I imagined Jake's chaotic children running sticky hands over the velvet armchair. I imagined Sarah criticizing the lack of keto snacks in my pantry. I imagined my father silently drinking my scotch while Mom rearranged my furniture to suit her taste. I imagined myself on the couch, wrapped in a spare blanket, listening to them celebrate in the house I had built with my own blood, sweat, and tears. They didn't want to see me. They wanted the venue. I was just the staff included with the rental. A cold calm washed over me, suppressing the initial flare of anger. It was a clarity I hadn't felt in years. The desperation to belong, the child inside me pleading for a seat at the table, it simply evaporated. Ethan, you're being very quiet, she said, a hint of annoyance creeping in. The signal must be bad up there. I said, do we need to bring towels? I took a deep breath, inhaling the scent of cedar and wood smoke. No, I said. You don't need to bring towels. Good. That saves space in the trunk. We're bringing so many presents for the kids. The car is going to be packed. Mom, I said. My voice was steady. It was the voice I used in boardrooms when I was killing a deal that didn't serve my interests. It was the voice of a man who realized he held every single card in the deck. What is it? You sound strange? I need you to listen to me very carefully, I said. I looked at the reflection of myself in the darkened window. I didn't look like the scrawny, desperate kid they remembered. I looked like a man who was done. Oh, don't tell me the heating is broken or something, she snapped, her patience fraying instantly. Because Jake will be furious if... The heating works fine, I interrupted, cutting through her rambling. Everything works perfectly. Then what is the problem? I smiled. It wasn't a nice smile. It was the smile of someone locking the gate. The silence that stretched between us wasn't empty. It was heavy, suffocating, and strangely electric. It hummed with the static of the connection and the pounding of my own heart against my ribs. Outside the floor-to-ceiling windows of the great room, the Colorado twilight was deepening into a bruised purple, the shadows of the pines lengthening across the pristine snow. Inside, the fire popped, a sharp report that sounded like a gunshot in the quiet cabin. I gripped the phone tighter, my knuckles turning white. My mother was still waiting on the other end, her breath audible, expecting the capitulation that had defined the last decade of our relationship. She expected the stammer, the scramble to accommodate, the desperate gratitude that they had remembered I existed. But the gratitude didn't come. Instead, a cold, crystalline clarity washed over me, numbing the anxiety that had initially spiked when I saw her name on the caller ID. Ethan? Her voice sharpened, impatience bleeding through the feigned sweetness. Did you hear me? I said Jake and the kids are so excited about the ski lift. You do have gear for them, right? Or should we rent? I took a slow breath, inhaling the scent of cedar and wood smoke that permeated the cabin. My cabin. I heard you, Mom, I said. My voice surprised me. It was steady, devoid of the tremor I felt in my hands. It sounded like the voice I used in boardrooms, not the one I used in my childhood kitchen. But that's not going to work. There was a pause, a beat of genuine confusion. What do you mean, not going to work? Don't worry about the food. I'll bring my green bean casserole. I know you don't cook for, well, large groups. It's not about the food, I interrupted, keeping my tone level. I walked over to the window, pressing my free hand against the cold glass. The chill grounded me. I mean, you can't come here. Not you, not Dad, and not Jake and his family. The cabin isn't available. I don't understand. Her tone shifted from confusion to a low, warning growl. It was the tone that used to make me flinch when I was 10. You're there. We saw the pictures. You're sitting in a 5-bedroom house all by yourself. Don't tell me it's not available. I am here, I agreed. And I have plans. Plans? She scoffed, a harsh, dismissive sound. What plans could you possibly have that are more important than family? Cancel them. We're driving up on the 23rd. That gives you 2 weeks to get the guest rooms ready. The audacity was breathtaking. It was a physical weight, pressing down on my chest. For a second, I almost laughed. It was so predictable, so perfectly on brand. They assumed my life was a vacuum waiting to be filled by their presence. No, I said simply. Excuse me? I said no. I'm not canceling my plans. Ethan, Michael, you listen to me right now. The sweetness was entirely gone, replaced by the matriarchal iron that ruled our family dynamic. Your brother has had a very hard year. The market has been tough on his business. He needs this break. We all need this. How dare you be so selfish? You have this mansion in the woods and you're going to hoard it? Selfish. The word hung in the air, spinning. Memories flashed, sitting alone in my college dorm on Christmas Eve because they thought I was working. Eating takeout on my 25th birthday while they went to Disneyland with Jake, kids because the tickets were too expensive for 5. I'm not hoarding it, I said, turning away from the window to look at the roaring fire. The heat flushed my face. I'm using it. I've made arrangements to spend Christmas here, alone. I want peace and quiet. Alone? She shrieked the word as if it were an obscenity. On Christmas? That is pathetic, Ethan. Absolutely pathetic. You're going to sit there by yourself when you could be surrounded by people who love you? Love? I repeated the word softly. Is that what we're calling it now? Convenient proximity? Don't you start with that moody attitude. We are your family. Are you? I asked. Because for the last 4 years, I haven't received a single invite to the house for the holidays. Not one. I spent last Christmas in my apartment watching old movies because you told me you were doing a small, intimate thing that turned out to include 30 people, including the neighbors. Oh, stop living in the past, she snapped. That was a misunderstanding. We thought you were busy with your little job. My career, I corrected, and I wasn't busy. I was waiting by the phone. Well, we're calling now, she yelled, her voice distorting through the speaker. We are trying to include you. We are willing to drive 4 hours into the mountains to be with you, and you're throwing it back in our faces. I closed my eyes. They weren't driving up to be with me. They were driving up because I had something they wanted. I was the shinier toy. I was the venue, not the host. You're not trying to include me, Mom. You're trying to use my house. That is a lie. We want to see you. Then why didn't you call last month? I asked. Or in October? Why did the phone only ring after I posted the photos of the renovation? She sputtered for a moment, caught off guard. We've been busy. Jake's youngest has soccer, and your father's back has been acting up. You know how it is. I do know how it is, I said. I know exactly how it is. I walked over to the oversized leather armchair near the hearth and sat down. The leather creaked beneath me. I felt like a judge passing a sentence. So, she said, trying to regain her footing, sensing that anger wasn't working. She pivoted to manipulation. We're coming. I've already told the grandkids. They're packing their bags, Ethan. Little Sophie has her heart set on building a snowman with her Uncle Ethan. You're not going to break a 6-year-old's heart, are you? The mention of Sophie twisted a knife in my gut. I loved my niece. It wasn't her fault her father was a golden child narcissist and her grandmother was an enabler. But I knew this game. If I caved now, the boundaries would dissolve forever. I would just be the doormat with the nice house. Sophie can build a snowman in her own backyard, I said, my voice hardening. My answer is final. You are being incredibly cruel, she hissed. I don't know who you think you are, suddenly acting like you're better than us just because you came into some money. You're still the same boy who used to cry when we left him at camp. I'm not that boy anymore, I said. And I'm not acting better than you. I'm just busy. Doing what? Sitting? Yes. I am not accepting this. We are family. You have an obligation. This was it. The moment I had rehearsed in the shower, in the car, in the dark hours of the morning for years. I let the silence stretch out again, longer this time. I let her sit in her own indignation. I didn't invite you, I said softly. What? I didn't invite you, Mom. Any of you. Well, obviously, that's why I called, to coordinate. No, I cut her off. I channeled every ounce of casual dismissal they had ever thrown my way. I let my voice go light, airy, almost perplexed. I mean, I didn't invite you because I forgot. The line went dead silent. No static, no breathing. Just a void. You forgot? She whispered eventually. Yeah, I said, examining my fingernails, though my heart was hammering a frantic rhythm against my ribs. It just slipped my mind. You know how it is. Work has been crazy, and with the renovation and the move, I just completely forgot to reach out. And then, when I made my plans for Christmas, it didn't even occur to me to check if you guys were free. It just fell through the cracks. It was a mirror, a perfect, flawless reflection of the excuse they had given me 3 years ago when they went to the cabin at the lake without me. We just forgot, Ethan. It slipped our minds. You forgot your mother? Her voice trembled, vibrating with a mix of shock and rage. You forgot your brother? It happens, I said, keeping my tone breezy. I'm sure you understand. It's not malicious. It's just life. You are a liar, she spat. You are doing this on purpose. You're trying to punish us. Think what you want, I said, feeling the adrenaline turning into a cold, hard resolve. But the reality is the same. The house is full. I'm here, I'm staying here, and there is no room for guests I didn't invite. Jake is going to come up there anyway, she threatened. He knows where it is. He saw the geotag. He'll drive up there and knock on that door, and you will not turn away your family in the snow. The gate has a code, Mom, I said, and I've already changed it. If Jake drives 4 hours, he's going to be sitting at the bottom of the driveway until he runs out of gas. Don't make him do that to the kids. You wouldn't. Try me. The threat hung there. We both knew Jake wouldn't actually come if he knew he couldn't get in. Jake hated inconvenience more than anything. I am so disappointed in you, she said, her voice dropping to that low, guilt-inducing register designed to make me feel small. After everything we've done for you, raising you, feeding you, putting a roof over your head, this is how you repay us? By abandoning us on Christmas? I'm not abandoning you, I said. I'm just spending the holiday the same way I have for the last 5 years, without you. The only difference is that this time the view is better. The kids have their skis waxed, Ethan, she shouted, abandoning the guilt for pure volume. They promised their friends they were going to a luxury cabin. You are making liars out of them. That sounds like a parenting issue for Jake to handle, I said. Maybe he shouldn't promise trips he hasn't booked. I hope you're happy, she said, her voice shaking with tears now. Weaponized tears. I could picture her perfectly, standing in her kitchen, clutching the landline, face red, performing her grief for anyone who might be watching. I hope you sit in that big, cold house and rot. You're going to wake up on Christmas morning and realize you have no one, and it will be your own fault. I looked around the room. The fire was casting warm, dancing shadows on the reclaimed wood walls. The snow outside was falling harder now, big, fat flakes that promised a whiteout. It was beautiful. It was safe. I'll take my chances, I said. Don't you dare hang up on me, Ethan! If you hang up this phone, don't you bother coming to Easter. Don't you bother calling for my birthday. If you do this, you are done. Do you hear me? Done. Okay, I said. Okay? That's all you have to say? You're throwing away your family for a house? I'm not throwing anything away, Mom, I said, my voice barely above a whisper, drained of fight but filled with finality. I'm just looking in the mirror, and I'm finally treating you exactly the way you've treated me. Ethan. I pulled the phone away from my ear. I could still hear her tiny, tinny voice screaming my name, a frantic, angry insect buzzing against the silence of the mountains. I pressed the red button. The connection severed. The silence rushed back in, but it wasn't heavy anymore. It was absolute. It was pure. My hand was shaking violently now. I set the phone down on the heavy oak coffee table as if it were a loaded gun I had just managed to unload. I stared at it, half expecting it to ring again, to explode, to sprout legs and attack me. It lit up. Mom calling. I watched the screen glow, casting a pale blue light on the wood. It rang, and rang, and rang. Then it went dark. A second later, a text message pinged, then another, then a string of them from Jake. Bro, what is Mom talking about? Don't be a dick, the kids are crying. Pick up the phone. I reached out, my finger hovering over the screen. For a second, the old instinct flared, the desperate need to fix it, to apologize, to smooth it over, to buy their love with my space and my comfort. I could text back. I could say it was a joke. I could let them come and spend the next week being criticized in my own home, watching Jake drink my scotch and hearing Dad complain about the heating bill. I looked at the fire. I looked at the snow piling up on the deck. I tapped the screen. Settings, do not disturb. Then I went a step further. I opened my contacts, found Mom, and scrolled to the bottom. Block caller. I did the same for Jake and Dad. I put the phone face down on the table. The shaking in my hands began to subside, replaced by a strange, lightheaded sensation. It felt like vertigo, or like stepping off a boat onto dry land after a long, stormy voyage. The air in the cabin seemed to shift, the atoms settling into a new configuration. I was alone. The realization washed over me, not with loneliness, but with a profound, intoxicating relief. There would be no walking on eggshells, no passive-aggressive comments about my job or my lack of a wife, no sleeping on the couch because Jake forgot to book a hotel. I walked to the kitchen and opened the fridge. A bottle of expensive Cabernet, one I had been saving for a special occasion, sat on the top shelf. I pulled it out, grabbed a glass, and walked back to the window. The snow was coming down in sheets now, erasing the world outside, erasing the road, erasing the path back to them. I poured the wine, the dark red liquid swirling in the glass. I took a sip. It tasted like oak and berries and something else. It tasted like freedom. The light that woke me was soft and unfamiliar, not the fluorescent glare of my city apartment, and not the jolt of an alarm, but a pale gray glow seeping through the curtains I had left slightly open the night before. I lay still, listening. For most of my life, Christmas morning had been loud, doors slamming, voices overlapping, expectations disguised as tradition. I waited for it out of habit. Nothing came. The silence held. I sat up and crossed the room to the window. Outside, the world had vanished. Snow fell in thick, steady sheets, burying the trees, the driveway, the road down the mountain. Everything I had left behind was gone. "Merry Christmas, Ethan," I said quietly. Downstairs, the cabin was still. I moved through it without turning on a single light, guided by memory and the dim glow from the windows. I made coffee, slow and deliberate, and let the warmth of the mug settle into my hands. My phone lay on the kitchen counter. I didn't pick it up. I didn't need to. I turned the screen on just long enough to confirm what I already knew: missed calls, messages, names I recognized without reading a single word. Then I went into the settings and blocked the numbers, one by one. When I set the phone back down, it was silent again. A tool, nothing more. I built a fire in the living room and sat back as it caught, the flames growing steady and sure. Outside, the snow continued to fall, patient and relentless. I waited for the guilt to arrive, for the familiar pull to explain myself, to smooth things over, to take responsibility for emotions that were never mine to manage. It didn't come. What I felt wasn't emptiness. It was space. I cooked breakfast and ate it slowly by the fire, watching the light shift across the room. There were no decorations, no obligations waiting in the next hour. Just warmth, quiet, and time that belonged entirely to me. When I finished, I stood and returned to the window. The deck railing was nearly buried now. The path back was gone. The future didn't feel vast. It felt closed, defined. And that was enough.